County OPEB Trust, better known as the Peacock. With that said, I would like to welcome my colleagues, Treasurer O'Brien and Matt Hanley, for coming in this evening to provide us with information that would prepare us going forward and making any wise decisions for what is best for OCPC. Thank you once again. I'll now turn it back over to Doug.
All right. So we're going to start the presentation.
Yes.
We are, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, take it away, Mr. Treasurer.
So by way of introduction again, thank you, Commissioner. I love how you introduced yourself as the Commissioner. I thought that was great. And you certainly are in our book. I'm joined by my assistant, my special assistant, Matt Hanley. And I also want to introduce Kate Caney from PARS. Kate is kind of our secret weapon. She'll be here and available to answer questions. And you'll get to see why what we've created is special and unique. When setting this meeting up with the Finance Committee, I want to really thank you folks for allowing us the opportunity to chat with you today and go through this presentation and answer questions. I asked Mary if she wanted me to talk a little bit about the history of the Plymouth County OPEB Trust, because I think it's really interesting and instructive. And she suggested that I hold off on that until tomorrow when we have the full group, because folks like to hone in right on the details and the finances. And so I thought that made a lot of sense. So with your approbation, we'll go through this deck. We'll highlight some of the early stuff very quickly. Again, tomorrow, I expect to get into that a little bit longer. We'll end up with some numbers that I think you'll find interesting, and then some time for questions. So does that work, Mr. Chair? I see a head nodding vigorously, so I'll take that as a yes.
Thank you.
So again, this is the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. Next slide. What makes us unique is that we've assembled a team of partners that provides a lot of services you cannot get elsewhere. We have created a multi-employer trust and have the resources of two amazing groups at our disposal. In order to do this, Plymouth County, the Plymouth County Commissioners, needed to create this trust. They did so on January 15, 2015. We service governmental entities that exist in 4 counties: Barnstable, Bristol, Norfolk, and of course, Plymouth. We are managed by an investment committee. And what again adds to our special nature is the fact that our investment committee is made up of our members. So we have a treasurer on our investment committee from our member groups. We have an administrator, we have an employee, and we have an elected official, oftentimes a member of the Board of Selectmen. I serve as the ex officio chair of that committee, largely to keep things moving, and it regularly reviews the portfolio. We have regular meetings, but I really want to focus in on the 2 bottom squares. PARS, Public Agency Retirement Services. They are the biggest administrator of OPEB assets in the country. We were very lucky to be able to partner with them. And it's really something that we provide that you can't get elsewhere. There are a lot of good investment groups out there, but they tend to leave the administrative stuff back on the staff. And one of the reasons many of our members have joined us is because we have PARS to help with that. And as I go through, you'll see some of the many advantages of that to the table. I can tell you for Plymouth County, we're not a huge operation here. People think, oh, Plymouth County Treasurer, I must have a staff of 7 or 8, but I can tell you my staff's on the phone with Matt here. I have a very small office of only 4 employees, and I couldn't manage the responsibility of the administration of this with that level of employment. And so PARS really fills that gap for us and takes a lot of burden off of our members. Likewise, we have US Bank. We like to say it's the largest bank you've never heard of. They're the 5th largest bank in the country and the largest manager of OPEB assets in the country. And we get all of their professional expertise. We have our representative, Dennis Mullins. He could not be here today or tomorrow, but he really brings a unique perspective and a lot of investment experience to the table. Next slide. And I touched a little bit about this in my presentation, really focusing in on PARS, 37 years of experience, 2,000 plans under administration. And I believe that we've got the best administrator, and Kate Canny here from PARS. She's part of our team, and she's the one that services the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. You can see US Bank there. Again, I also serve as the chairman of the Plymouth County Retirement Association, and we manage close to $1.23 billion. The expertise I see at US Bank is as good, if not maybe even better, than the investment advice we get from the top tier managers in the country. So it's a real value add to our program. Next slide. So I touched on this briefly as well, that we have the 4 counties. That was at their request. We were originally just going to set this up for Plymouth, but they got wind of what we were doing. They thought it was a great idea. The treasurers reached out to me and asked if we could include them. So we did. It's administered by PARS, so they take care of the nuts and bolts, if you will. And they're a manager, as I mentioned, of more than $5 billion in assets under management. It's also important to note that we are IRS approved, and we've had all of our reviews. We're GASB compliant and MGL Section 32B, Section 20 compliant. So really have created a program that checks every box for all of our members. Next slide. And this is really what makes us unique. You can see right in the middle is the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. If you're working with investment managers, they will offer you some fiduciary management. They'll offer you certainly a lot of financial consulting. But what a lot of groups don't do is add this administrative support to your team. And you'll see what we've done too that makes this even more remarkable a little bit later as to how we've been able to do this at such a low cost. I'm just going to tell you a quick story. I want to highlight the annual audit and GASB recording requirement. And I think you guys use Parker Elmore. But when I get a question about my accounts here at Plymouth County, and I need to get information for my GASB 7475, all I have to do is pick up the phone, ask Kate to send that information over to my actuary, and it happens almost instantaneously. I don't have to worry about assembling that information. They keep it, it's ready to go. They've got all the documents. What I also think is unique is they spend a significant amount of time monitoring what's happening at the federal and state level. You'll see that as one of the highlights here. That's important because the rules change fairly regularly. The Government Accounting Standards Bureau, known as GASB, changes things, and we're the first to know because Kate and her team at PARS are in those meetings, paying attention and sharing that information with us. Next slide. You guys already know this. I'm not going to belabor this or the next slide much. Why pre-fund OPEB obligations? You're already doing that. You've been doing that for a few years. Kudos to you. That's a real credit to the team, recognizing the reason to do this, recognizing that you want to get greater return. It addresses your GASB 74 and 75 requirements. It helps with long-term planning. I'll highlight just number 2 for a second about potential for greater return. We all need to remember that these are long-term assets. We're investing for 20 or 30 years. And so you have an obligation, you have a fiduciary obligation to make sure that you're getting the most reasonable rate of return with a reasonable risk over a long-term horizon. And we oftentimes see that most groups aren't capitalizing on that opportunity, either because they are concerned about risk or because their boards change too regularly. One of the valuable lessons we continue to learn is one of the mistakes people make is not being in a market when it goes up. And I hearken back to the downturn in March 23rd, 2020, where the market had lost as much as 22%. Had you not been in the market the day after, you missed one of the greatest runs in the history of equities in this country. And so we saw, unfortunately, none of our clients, or fortunately, none of our clients, because they're with us and we stayed the course and had some remarkable returns. But others, you know, they were a little concerned. They said, "Oh, we've got to take our money out of the market," and really made a market timing mistake. The advantage of PCOT is with the expertise we have with Dennis at US Bank and his team, we don't make those kind of mistakes. Next slide. Again, these are just more reasons why you're looking after your future employees. We'll talk about 7 a little bit. I imagine you guys might have some questions, but the assets are going to be accessible for retiree costs, and that's an important note. I also will note that PARS does this. They have clients out in California. They've been doing this since 2006. And so they really are ready to help us and our members at a moment's notice as we might need to use some of these assets to cover costs. Next slide. So Pequot has a couple of investment options, which we'll go to the next slide. So again, we've created some options that we feel fit the needs of our members and potential members. We've created 4 different options, ranging from a conservative / balanced portfolio to an aggressive growth portfolio. I will report to the group that we have more than 28 members, and they all are currently in the growth portfolio, which is a mixture of 70, 30, 70% equity related and 30% fixed income related. And that portfolio has performed exceedingly well over the last 5 years. What's great about having US Bank is they make sure that everything complies with federal and state law, and they provide some hands-on management. I mentioned that we have a finance committee that meets regularly. We meet quarterly. The public is invited. Our members are invited. You can see the decisions being made by members of the OPEB trust. It's not like handing the money off to an investment consultant and they're making the decisions. We're making the decisions with the help and assistance and expertise of US Bank. Next slide. So these are the 4 portfolios that I was touching on briefly: income, balanced, growth, and aggressive growth. We really have these because we want any potential members to feel comfortable. Some tend to be a little bit more conservative as they start. We try to remind people that we are investing on a 20 or 30-year timeline. So being more conservative is not always the best, but we want it there to start. Some folks have a exceedingly conservative portfolio, and they feel comfortable as they move assets into our options, at least starting there. As I mentioned, though, the growth, the original portfolio is where our members are. And again, we've had remarkable returns over the last 5 years. Next slide. So this is the real value add of PARS. You can see in the left column, this is what we offer, and it really is full service. I won't read each of the 10 because you folks can do that. But what I want to highlight is what you don't get from other programs. There is nothing else out there in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts like the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. And what I hear oftentimes from our members is, thank goodness you're there as an option for our governmental employees, because we're really getting enhanced benefits by having access to PARS into US Bank. I can't say enough about Kate and her team, the work that they do behind the scenes to make sure that we're following every rule, every guideline, even as it changes. I sleep comfortably at night, much more so knowing that I have PARS on my side, because they worry about that. I don't have to. If I were just with an investment company or had another portfolio, those responsibilities rest with the individual group or unit. And those are some fairly significant responsibilities. So Kate and her team take those off of our members' shoulders and make sure that everything is compliant, everything is done. I love number 7 too. I touched on that briefly. The consulting and analysis that they make available and that they provide for you is incredible. I can imagine, Mr. Chair and to the executive director, that it would be nice for you to be able to pick up the phone and know there was somebody you could call and get this data. Well, that's what we have. Kate is available. You can pick up the phone and she's available to answer those questions and to provide that information. Next slide. I love this slide because as we look what's out there in the marketplace, very few people will tell you exactly what your fees are. They'll tell you, well, it depends on what you have inside, what portfolio you choose. Our fee structures are changing. From day one, I insisted that our fees be public, be available at a moment's notice so everybody can see what the fees are. It's important to note there's no setup fee with us, none at all. And that as we grow our assets, the fees go down. It's one of the few programs I know like that. One of the places that our members could look to go is in the PRIT fund run by the state. They certainly do a great job with their investment. But one of the reasons a lot of groups started to come with us is our fees are noticeably lower. And what I found over the last 5 years is the state is trying to get their fees down to us. They're not there yet. I don't see them getting there. But what's interesting is our fees are still lower, and we offer PARs in addition to the financial consulting. And so the question you're now asking is, where are our assets? Our assets are over 30 million. So we're in that tier of fees between 15 and $50 million. And we expect, because it's been a huge success, even though we don't advertise, even though it's largely word of mouth, that we'll be moving along very quickly. So our fees are remarkably low. Next slide. And here you go. You can see that fee reduction historically from when we started back in 2015. As our assets grew, our fees went down. You would expect that to happen, but I can tell you in the financial industry, that isn't what happens all the time. But this team has made sure that's the case. So our blended all-in fee for PARS and US Bank is 39 basis points. You know, that is the lowest that we've encountered in the industry. We know that your fees are a little higher than that right now. And so not only are you getting additional services, but you're getting a lower fee as well. So we think that's one of our hallmarks and our trademarks. Next slide. This is just a sample of an $800,000 initial contribution, what your monthly fee would be. So $260 a month is exceedingly low. Again, we don't know anything out there that's competing in that range. We know your fees are higher. That's fine. We're not saying that they're unreasonable. We just know that we've created a program that has a way to keep fees down. And some people say to me, well, Treasurer, we know it's important to keep fees down, but we're not really talking a huge amount of money. It may only be $50 or $100 a month. Well, do that math over 20 or 30 years, and we're really saving some significant money. It really does amount into the hundreds of thousands of dollars over a long period of time. Next slide. So the agency role, that would be you, your agency. The benefit of PCOT is once joined, it gets really simple. You need to contribute funds into the trust at your rate. One of the things we set up this trust for was to not have a mandatory amount to put in, not to have a requirement. You go at your pace. It's interesting because PRIT, the state fund, originally had a 3-year commitment. They've reduced that and eliminated that. One other thing you would need to do when it's time to disperse monies to the places they need to go, you would just submit requests to PARS. They'll take care of all of that work and handle that. But you just need to monitor the reports that come. Our team does an annual report for each of our members where they come out to the group and answer any questions that they have. However, they're also available to do it more than once a year. I know that Kate and the team have gone out as many as 3 times because a group had a question, or a member of a board of selectmen had a question, or a member of a school committee had a question. We'll be happy to come out and answer those questions for you. So it really is full service turnkey operation. Next slide. So, you know, this is the summary. This is why we think we've invented a better mousetrap, if you will. We have all-in-one service provider. I haven't seen that anywhere else. We have a hugely and significantly experienced team, including US Bank and PARS. We have low-cost investment services, and the lowest that I'm aware of. And we have a flexible trust structure in that you have some options to choose in, and you have local control through the finance committee and the members that get elected from our membership to that finance committee. It really is a unique assembly that we've put together, a unique trust product. It has worked exceedingly well. Our members are very pleased with it. One of the things that we insisted when we created it was that there be no penalties if anybody wanted to leave. So there's not a penalty, and that's unlike other programs. If you decide you want to leave the Plymouth County OPEB Trust, you need to give us 30 days notice. That's it. I think that's a good way to continue to make us competitive and make us sharp. I can tell you we've never lost a member because I think they're largely happy, not only with the outstanding performance, but with the services that we provide. Next slide, Mary. So here's the contact. What I like to say is we're close and we're local and we're available. There's my phone number. There is our email. I mentioned Matt Hanley as well. I've become exceedingly busy these days with a lot on my plate, and with the commissioner's approbation, hired Matt as my special assistant. So he is also available to make sure things get done. In fact, he made sure I was here tonight to be here for you, to be here for this presentation. So I want to thank him for that. Next slide. And then the appendix. So one of the things we like to show is our client list. Again, this is fairly remarkable if you realize that this is after only 5 years. We like to encourage you to call any of those members and see what they feel about their involvement with Plymouth County OPEB Trust. There are two I'm just going to highlight because I think they tell a great story. I'm going to highlight the town of Carver. They were our first member. And what was remarkable about their involvement with the Plymouth County OPEB Trust is the minute they joined and made a contribution and committed to making annual contributions at a fairly small and reasonable rate, their outside actuary and their outside auditor immediately recognized that commitment and recognized the portfolio we had assembled, increased their discount rate, which reduced their liability significantly, and doubled their bond rating from a low single A to a triple A, and they were able to go out and borrow at a cheaper amount simply because of their initial involvement with the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. So I certainly encourage you to feel free to reach out to Carver, again, any of these towns. The other town I like to highlight is Weymouth. I highlight Weymouth because it's fairly big and they have a fairly sophisticated finance department. And when they were deciding where to go, they had their team go out and really conduct a 6-month lengthy investigation about where the best use of their assets would be and where to go. We were thrilled that after that thorough review, I pleasantly referred to it as a colonoscopy back at the time, they decided to come and join us because of everything that we provide. And they continue to be a very pleased member of our group. We continue to grow faster than I thought we would. We expected after 5 years that maybe we would have 5 to 10 members. We thought we'd have 5 to 10 million in assets under management, but you can see we have 29 members with more than $30 million in assets under management and growing in leaps and bounds. What's remarkable about that too is we don't advertise. You folks had to hear about us from word of mouth. Commissioner Wright, I know, mentioned that we're out here, but people are coming to us. We don't go out to them because, again, our job is to serve you. We don't have brick and mortar places. We're just here as another governmental entity to save money for other governmental entities. I think that might be the end, Mary. I didn't know if there was anything else. Just as we go back to a slide, I just wanted to let you folks know that we did a quick comparison of our returns versus your folks' returns as of 2/28/21 on a 3-month, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year look back. And I can tell you that in every instance, the Plymouth County OPEB Trust had a better return, in some instances, a fairly significant better rate of return, again, for a lower fee. So we just feel that we've created something that serves this type of a community. We think that you folks would be a great fit and that we would be a great asset to you, which is why I wanted to make sure to be here to go through the presentation and answer any questions that you folks have. So that's it for the presentation. Mary's known me for a long time. She knows that that was actually fairly short for me, that I enjoy these opportunities to meet and to chat, but I really want to answer questions that you folks may have. Before that, though, Kate, is there anything I missed in that presentation that you feel we should just let the team know about?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, any questions from you or your team?
Yeah, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you for the presentation. I know you guys are busy, Catherine, Matt, and Mr. Treasurer. So, it's really appreciated for you to do this and then have to do it again tomorrow. Um, I did have one question though. So when a member decides that they want to become a little more aggressive, what type of I guess, what process would that consist of and how often does that actually happen?
So again, if you want to go back to the slide, Mary, I don't know if you can find it with the 4 programs we have. All of our members right now, there we go. Thank you. That was well done. Are in the growth, the original one that we've created. All 29 members are there. However, if anybody said, and I think Kate will be able to elaborate on this, if you want to move over to the aggressive growth, it's very easy because we have the expertise of PARS and US Bank. I know we had a member explore that. Kate, if you wanted to elaborate on that, it really is, I think, a phone call and a few documents that you need to sign. Kate?
Actually, it's it would be reaching out. It would involve reaching out to me. And what I usually and typically advise is that anytime there's a request for a portfolio change, that we just connect the agency with our portfolio manager to always make sure that regardless of whether it's becoming more conservative, more aggressive, that the switch is in keeping with not only your short-term goals, but your long-term goals. Tom didn't highlight, I represent over 85 clients on the East Coast. And last March, right around the time COVID hit, I had some clients who were like, what do I do? What do I do? Should I go more aggressive, less aggressive? And so we coordinated meetings with our portfolio manager to always make sure that you weren't just doing a quick response to what you saw on CNN that night and that it was keeping. So once we ascertain that this is a good movement, more aggressive, less aggressive, the treasurer, who is the trustee, would then execute one document, which is just a switch in portfolio. And that takes about 24 to 48 hours to be done. There is no limitation on how often an agency can change their portfolio. But again, you don't want to be switching in or out of portfolios too often because, in keeping with portfolio. There is no fee for that. There's no any trading fees or anything like that. So it's just an execution of a single page document by the treasurer.
And again, we don't see, Kate, thank you for that elaboration. And I like the reminder that we meet with people, make sure if they're making a move or suggesting a move that it makes sense to them. And it's really that they're thinking long-term. It wouldn't make sense to go back and forth because that's a way certainly to miss the market. These are the type of assets you want to put in and hold as long-term as necessary to watch them grow and to let them grow. I will report that for the 1 year ending 2/28/21, our net of fee performance was 24.79% rate of return. And then our 1 year through the end of March was over 40%. Now, past performance is not indicative of future performance. But again, because we have this expertise, we invest, we hold for the long haul, and we get the advantages when the market goes up. Now, we know the market's going to go down, right? It is going to happen. But that would be the time to stay the course. And if there are assets available as the market goes down, it would be an opportunity, again, to invest into a portfolio that over time is going to return more than putting it in your mattress or putting it in a bank.
Right. What do they say? Buy the dip, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what they say.
Yeah.
It's hard to do though, right? It makes sense, but when everybody is running, I mean, who knew in February, we had COVID, we have a international pandemic. I don't think there was any investment professional that would say, oh, by the end of the year, you'll see a full recovery in the marketplace and a 30% return on top of it.
Right. Well,
The good news is our members benefited. We had a finance committee meeting a few Fridays ago, and one of our investment team members from Quincy College actually was reminded of that time, and he was concerned, and he brought to Dennis Mullins and to the finance committee and myself and was saying, hey, maybe we need to change our portfolio. And we kept saying, no, let's stay the course. And he was thrilled at the last meeting where we were mentioning that return, that we had done that and stayed the course.
Yeah, awesome. Did anybody else have any other questions?
Hi, Tom. A question and a statement. Plimpton, when we got into PCOT, we looked at the state's program as well. We had a lump sum, I think it was between $60,000 and $80,000. We knew we needed to get involved in an OPEB. We took a really close look at both, and we just felt that the Plymouth County's program was much better for us. We've been extremely happy with them. That's a big part of the reason why we wanted you to come in, Tom, and do a presentation for us, because we do have options with our money, and we wanted the council members to be aware of it. So I appreciate you coming in and doing such a thorough and condensed presentation for us. But I think this is a great opportunity for us that we need to really explore. Question is, do you folks help or offer actuarial services to help us determine the appropriate level of liability and funding levels?
So that's a great question. I'm going to start, but then turn it over to Kate. It's a question we get a lot. We provide as much support as we can. Everybody has their own actuary, but it is a question we get a lot. Kate, do you want to elaborate further?
So PARS, who I work for, we do not provide actuarial services because we felt that it would potentially pose a conflict of interest if we were doing the actuarial review of our own OPEB plans. That might be not seamless. We do work with many actuaries. I have a great relationship with Parker Elmore. We have a lot of the same clients. So Parker, at this point, with clients that we've done more than one actuarial review, he just pretty much reaches out to me, and I know the questions he has and what he needs answered. So he has the information on our portfolios. So Parker's excellent, and I'm just going to say that I've never questioned anything that was in his reports when he calculates your unfunded liabilities, when he calculates your discount rate. I think he's a real thought leader. That can't be said for all the actuaries I encounter. So there are times that when we do a review with a client and we ask to look at their actual report so we can include that and we can review it and walk through it with them. There have been times I've prepared questions and comments and suggested that they revisit with their actuary, their discount rate. With GASB 75, it's impacted the discount rate a bit. And I've noticed there are some actuaries that weren't accounting for the assets in the trust. They were showing it up as just a strictly pay-as-you-go situation. So we give a lot of feedback that way to make sure that your report that you're getting properly reflects your assets, your account, the diversification of your portfolio, the projected rate of returns, and things like that. So while we don't do the reports, we do work with the agency to make sure that their reports are accurate and properly done.
Thank you, Kate. Follow-up question. Do you have any generalization about how often a group or organization should be looking to have their be reevaluated for the actuarial?
I mean, your assets to get your
Yes.
report done?
Well, our
I believe
liability,
it's
how
every 2
often should
years.
we have our
Yeah.
actuary come in and take a look at us and do an evaluation?
I would say every other year, you should have that done. And then they can do a midpoint. You can get an update, but I would say every other year.
And if I could just elaborate on that, I think Kate's absolutely right. GASB 74, 75 requires one to be done every other year. And in the interim, you want to do what they would call a short report, which will give you an update on where your liability is. So I think that's absolutely correct. Every other year for a full report, but do one in the interim. Most of the actuaries will give a discounted price for doing the shorter report. We just did one here in Plymouth County, the longer one as of June 30th, 2020, and we'll do another shorter one as of June 30th, 2021.
So, and for Christine and for the board members, so I recently asked Odyssey that when we were due, because it was on my mind when I first started. So he did, in fact, say it's every other year. He never suggested doing a short, but that's something we can explore in terms of cost.
Thank you, everyone.
I was just cheating and looking at Plimpton's performance. You guys got in at the right time, Christine. Really benefited from your participation in your last year's report. As of 3/31, your 1-year return was 43.26%. So hopefully you take some credit for that as a selectman in Plimpton.
Well, yeah, we got in, I think we got in 2015 as well, shortly after Carver. We were one of the early ones in the program because it just made so much sense. You guys have done a great job managing it.
Thank you. Yeah, you came in on July 29th, 2015. You are a 5th member.
Wow.
Talk about thought leader.
A leap of faith.
If I could, Mr. Chair, and to the treasurer, because I think that, as you are presenting about for OCPC, we do have 17 members, and I don't know which of our 17 members are hurt. Well, I could look back at that sheet, right? Let's go look at that last page.
So Whitman, Plimpton, do you guys have Hanson?
We do.
So there you go.
Okay. So it may be some information, we have a diverse group of council members. Some are Board of Selectmen, some are citizens, some are planners. We do not have a town administrator on our board, but anyway, I would think that there may be twofold. We take that back and can share that information.
Well, and thank you. That's really how people find out about us, is when that happens. You'll notice a lot of regional school districts, because word get out very quickly that we were an option and that we'd had some success. So they jumped on. They have an easier time sometimes of being able to join. So, but that's how we picked up most of our members, is word of mouth. Carver told Lakeville, so on and so on.
Well, actually, one example is, you notice we represent Whitman, we represent Hanson, and then we represent the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District. So it's a very close annual review when we meet with everybody. There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah. Great. So, and just for the board members as well, I had submitted the questions that were asked of Rockland Trust. So they have the questions and be ready for tomorrow night's council meeting for any other comments. I might say for tomorrow, Mr. Treasurer, if you or Kate want to maybe even just prompt yourself in asking those questions as you get through your presentation, saying these are some questions that we know that were asked and we'd like to answer them. That would be helpful.
Great. Well, I tried to touch on a few of them during this presentation, on the fee portion and about there's no penalty to come in and out, but we'll try to weave that into the narrative.
You are ready. I thank you.
All right. Well, I know this is not a topic we vote on today. It's for tomorrow. So if there are any other questions, again, I'd like to say thank you guys for your time. I know it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah. But I know
Tuesday,
we'll
yeah.
see you again tomorrow. So thank
Well,
you.
very much looking forward to it. Thank you for all of your time. Thanks for listening to the presentation. We really do appreciate the opportunity to be here, and hopefully we'll be able to partner with you, and we'll look forward to seeing the full board tomorrow night. Mary, just to confirm, 7 p.m. tomorrow?
That is 7 p.m. Correct.
Excellent. And you have me slated for a 3 or 4 hour presentation?
I want
Just
my
kidding.
job no. And Madam President, for tomorrow, the request was Treasurer Otto.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll call things to order and do roll call, and you guys will be on deck.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow.
Good.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.
night.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Let's see. I don't know what just.
So I think we're on to the review of financials.
You are, and I just wanted just to bring this up while I had financials. We do have, there's a couple of items. I'm going to have Brenda go through the financials first and then take Andrew Vidal, who joined our meeting. He's our GIS. Just the idea is to start blending in some of the discussions about future capital needs as we go along and build our budget. So first I will get Brenda, and it was much smoother last meeting. I don't know what's going on here.
It's Tuesday.
Oh my Lord, I can't even tell you. Brenda knows what kind of days, Charlie knows what kind of day it was here, but it's every day. All right. So let me, can everybody see that?
A
Okay,
little bit.
Brenda, you are on.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we're going to start with statement of expenditures report, which shows total expenses for the month of $143,388.94. On to the cash position report, shows income for the month of $270,767.77. Disbursements for the month were $315,648.94. The total cash available at month's end was $1,508,549.23. OPEB account had a gain, yay, of $22,219.77, bringing the ending balance in the OPEB account to $831,458.20. On to budget resources. Total receipts for the month were $272,767.77. This brings the total cumulative receipts for this fiscal year to $2,762,022. Okay, this month we have 2 AAA reports as we prepare to close FY20 and move into FY21. We have submitted the carryover amounts to AAA, but have not received approval on those amounts just yet. That report will tell us the total funds from FY20 that they're going to allow us to carry over into FY21 grant amounts. So the AAA report for FY20, no change from this past month's report. Pass-through funds in the top graph shows total cumulative billings at $1,743,789, bringing the fund balance to a total of $786,584. Middle graph for ombudsman and admin funds still showing cumulative billings at $317,682, bringing the grant balance remaining in admin and ombudsman to a total of $90,136. Allocated volunteer transportation funds account had a starting balance at the beginning of March of $188,174.14. There were no donations received in March. Total payments out to the volunteer transportation volunteers was $166.32. That brings the balance at ending balance in the volunteer transportation account to $188,782. Our first report for AAA FY21. Pass-through funds in the top graph shows total cumulative billings as of this report to $203,201, bringing the remaining fund balances for FY21 to a total of $2,327,172. Middle graph for ombudsman and admin funds shows cumulative billings total of $33,948, bringing the grant balance remaining in admin and ombudsman to a total of $396,472. Those numbers on the FY21 report will change as soon as we know what the pass-through fund allowances are.
Brenda, and just for clarification,
okay.
You have the volunteer transportation program. Is that?
Yeah, it's just a repeat. It's the same thing.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the same thing.
And
'cause
I'm
it's
just going to do just a quick stop on this just for 2 things.
Okay.
Brenda, as we've talked about in the past, she's instituted a grant management with staff just to get everybody on the same page for reporting and similarities and how they're doing it and when they're doing it. Just keeps a little bit of some record keeping, but also in the AAA, the paperwork had been pretty enormous, right? So we've hired Patrick Hamilton. We'll be doing a report out during the staff at council meeting. We brought Patrick Hamilton back at 20 hours. He's been incredible resources. I think David has been thrilled to have him and help keep on some of these reports. I will just say there's been a couple months behind, and it's made all the world of difference just within 2 weeks. So just wanted to report that in terms of some management pieces that goes behind this.
Thank you, Mary. On to the ROM March 2021 statement and activity report. Balance at the beginning of March was $178,160.33. March receipts, as always, were $5,850, bringing the total ROM FY21 receipts to $52,650. March expenses were $5,422.44, bringing total ROM expenses in FY21 to $60,279.40. The ending balance in the ROM bank account in March was $179,209.36. Moving on to our budget report. Okay, our total expenditures through the end of March is at $1,312,334. That brings our percentage spent to date to 64.10%.
Sorry,
No.
Brenda,
That's okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
we were
Right there.
up here. That's what I
Okay.
did. Sorry.
Okay,
I was-
that's okay. I'm sorry. I'm like looking down at my paper because it's hard for me to read the little screen. So you're scanning away and I'm just reading away. Okay. Anyway, our percentage rate spent to date is at 64.10%. And note that the ideal percentage in the 9th month of our fiscal year would be 75%. So we are in great shape.
Okay.
And that's the end of financial reports. Any questions?
Brenda, do any of these reports show what our current OPEB fund balance is?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you go back, Mary, if you go back to the cash report, the second
Yep.
sheet,
Yep.
I was just curious.
it's there at the very bottom. It's always at the very bottom of the cash report, Christine.
Okay.
So in February, at the end of February, we had $809,238.43. And then it grew in March by $22,219.77. So our current balance in the OPEB fund is $831,458.20.
It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
It is. Any other questions of Brenda, just before I stop screwing?
No, I think putting the percentages of where we're at and where we're supposed to be is, I mean, that's a great
I
tool.
am very
mean,
pleased with our budget this year. Very pleased.
yeah, I think when you go over it with the committee and show them those numbers, because a lot of times there'll be a disconnect of, where we are and where we're supposed to be, and no one likes
Yes.
numbers. And
Yes.
I think putting a
I
percentage
do.
to
I
it-
do, Doug.
I know you do. I know you do.
But I think, to Doug, your point, having the percentage rates and having the comparable from year to year, we know it was COVID. We know that there's stuff that happened, but in the meantime, right? And then shifting because of those salary increases, it's done in a way where, as board members, you can see that. And right, because I was telling Brenda, I said, I'm on a number of other boards, and I always automatically go, which are at zero? Like, why aren't we spending that money, right? And there could be a good reason, like printing. We just haven't done any printing, but we haven't finished our logo yet. But we know we're going to have printing, those kind of things, right? But but those are always it's a great tool, and I'm really been pleased with the fact that Brenda was able to pull that report together, and it's zip, it's done pretty easy.
It's a great reference piece.
Yep, it is. Just while it's under finance and Andrew is on, so as I've mentioned the last couple of meetings and really trying to put together a capital budget, there have been some big items that have come onto our plate. So I'm going to leave the right technology aside for a minute because Howard will be on for tomorrow and may have some additional questions. But it goes on the side of, the question gets asked of staff, like what things do you need to perform your jobs effectively and efficiently? Like, I'm not saying we're getting this. I said, we need your wish list. What's your wish list? And once we see where we are with budget, we're at 60, whatever percent, where are we coming through that? If there's something that we can purchase in this fiscal year and make that recommendation to the finance meeting. So I'm actually, so if you see there are three, you probably can't see this, but there were three buckets that I have for right now for today. It's GIS, pavement software, and Right Technology. I'm going to go right to the it's a memo that Andrew pulled together to Charlie and I. Let me stand by. Let me get this a little bit blown up here. And then I am going to have Andrew Vidal, who's on our committee. Andrew's been working, he's on our meeting today, but Andrew's been working with Charlie, myself, and Lori Muncy on a strategic plan for GIS. I have certainly seen it as a way, not only a tool, but a potential revenue stream, for communities that can't purchase equipment and time and skills. So Andrew, I'm going to turn this over to you and you can highlight some of the things I did not share this with you in advance, members, but I will send it to you so you'll have it. But Andrew, do you want to take this away?
Sure. Thanks for the introduction, Mary. Good evening, everyone. So
Andrew,
my name is Andrew Vidal. I'm the GIS manager here at OCPC. And I know that not everyone has a familiarity with GIS. Usually when people ask me what I do for a living, I tell them that the short answer is I make maps, but it actually goes a lot deeper than that. And GIS is pretty multifaceted. So there's the obvious map making component to it, but then there's building the data behind the scenes. And then there's displaying it, whether it be in print, online, interactive. So a lot of this work we do through one specific software tool, which is the ArcGIS suite of software that we purchased from Esri. Esri is sort of the industry leader, and ArcGIS is the flagship software of GIS. It's used nationwide. Even people without much familiarity with GIS may have heard of it. So ArcGIS is, like I said, it is that data and mapping platform, and it also incorporates a lot of other tools. To give an example of one that we're using lately, we developed an interactive map for some public workshops where the public would be able to visit a web link and see a map that we've created and drop points of their own on it with comments, and that would populate a database that I receive on the back end, and then we can, we can take public input that way, which is a lot more efficient than the old method, which was to have a public meeting where people showed up and put pins in a map. So it's things like that the software is it has, like I said, it's multifaceted and it has a lot of depth to it. So it comes in several different versions, and as you might guess, the price goes accordingly. So ArcGIS is leveled into a basic, standard, and advanced categories. And right now we're using the basic one, which is a little bit more cost conscious, but it doesn't, as you might expect, doesn't have the greatest functionality. There's certain things that it doesn't do. This wasn't a problem years ago when we were first doing GIS, because we were generally doing data creation, map production, printed out. And that's very straightforward. But as we've advanced and we're trying to do more, and as Mary said, create this as a revenue stream, there's certain things we want to do. And those features are only available at higher functionality levels. So my recommendation to the council was to level up one to the standard. I feel like the advanced is quite expensive, and not every tool on there is necessary for us, and we can find workarounds. But the standard would flesh out a lot of tasks that we regularly do. One I can think of in particular is parcel management. Right now, we're doing parcels for the town of Whitman, and there's certain tasks that need to be done to check to verify the quality of the mapping, and they take minutes with a simple function in the standard level of ArcGIS, and they can take, depending on the size of the town, they can take hours, even days, if you have to find a workaround for it. and you may not even know how to find the workaround. I had to dig that up myself. So, so as you can see in the memo, there's several parts to this. First, we currently have 2 licenses of the basic. The ArcGIS is licensed where you install it on one desktop computer, and you're restricted to using it on that computer. You can uninstall it and reinstall it on a different computer, but that license locks it to that computer, and that way, Esri knows that you've only got 2 copies that you paid for. Also, we have a web application that we subscribe to that provides business and demographic data called Business Analyst, which is affiliated with Esri and interactive with all their products. So currently, I see no reason not to renew the Business Analyst app and to just upgrade from basic to standard licenses. And you can see the prices there. The total would be $12,258. And then there's a recurring maintenance cost every year. The initial purchase is a perpetual license, meaning that we purchase it once and we own it until we decide to make a change to it. And we just pay maintenance and we get all the software updates. So that unless maintenance prices go up, that currently would be the maintenance price going forward, $3,190.
Thank you, Andrew. Charlie?
So
I don't know if you had anything else to add in the GIS. I know we've been working with Andrew on this for a bit of time.
yeah, no, I think Andrew covered it really nice. I mean, I think like he said in the introduction, he makes maps, but I think the real salient point of his presentation is there's so much work that actually goes on behind the scenes. It's just not that simple. And I think one of the important things is to have software and technology that evolves with time and to provide the extra capabilities. So I think Andrew's done a really nice professional job analyzing some of the needs and, you know, where we want to go to the next level, because, you know, we have to evolve with the times, and grow with the times as well. So, you know, kudos to Andrew for a nice presentation and analysis.
And so our next step for the Finance Committee is, I just wanted to just prepare you with some of the things. The printer is also coming out of date. In fact, it's kind of waning a little bit, but Andrew's going to do some more research on that. Obviously, we're going to stay within the budget, but I wanted to be able to maybe even we put together a bit of a strategic plan on the financing and particularly the capital budget. So we're not going to do everything all in this fiscal year, but if we do have funds this fiscal year that we're able to utilize funds, then I will make that recommendation to the finance. So I would say probably for the May finance meeting to have, it will be given in advance. Maybe there's a little bit of a working group on this, and then also on the OPEB account. So I don't know if anybody has questions of Andrew.
Yeah, I had just a quick question. Actually, I had 2 questions. One was for you, Mary, and the other's for Andrew. But Andrew, so, I mean, you guys talk about this as being a potential revenue, a source of revenue. How, I mean, can you explain that to me of how this could possibly be that?
Well, when I was mentioning the parcel maintenance that we do for the town of Whitman, we only have limited resources, limited time to take on this town, and we could take on several other towns if we could be more efficient with the workflow on it, and leveling up something like that license would assist with that. There's also some other projects that I'm not really thinking of right now, but we'd like to expand some of the things we're doing. The GIS strategic plan, maybe I can send you a copy of our strategic plan, because it outlines some of the things we're hoping to expand into.
So it's
I think
more of
that's
like
a good idea,
a manpower type of savings, right?
Yes.
'Cause you're not using all that time to search for the things that the basic program that we have doesn't have.
Yes.
Okay.
Plus, on top of that, we have a GIS intern that just joined Andrew to help with some of the smaller, less
demanding
detail-oriented,
tasks.
I guess. Yeah, and that's been a big help to Andrew. There's Andrew's time has been spent enormously on grants. So while Andrew's position is paid for by Mass DOT, some of the time that he spends on working for the community planning group, he he gets charged to that grant. So we're trying to, first of all, that's one piece. And then also in terms of potential revenue is that, again, you know, with the goal that communities are going to be needing data and they're going to need some pretty maps. And so as a standard, we don't really try to charge off a whole lot. I mean, because everybody pays an assessment, but at some point, and I'll just give, there's a particular community that happens to be right across the hall from me here, right? I mean, they ask for maps all the time, and that's great. But we also have 16 other communities. So at some point, we're trying to devise a system that if you ask for this, you know, at least try to recoup some of the, you know, you're given 10 maps. And if you have more than that, because it comes at a cost, at some point, where do we keep absorbing the cost and yet still serve the purpose of being a regional planning? So we're trying to figure that piece out.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at, because it sounded like that this software could be utilized by every community here, and it's just a matter of they obviously don't have the software. So at some point, you know, they're just like you said, it's just a matter of devising what and how, you know, you can come to an agreement.
That's right. And I think until we really get that strategy, until we really start looking at what these products are costing us, you know, at the very least, as Andrew said, you know, we're going from, you know, the basic level, and then we're recommending to go up to, what's our new level? Standard. Thank you,
Yeah.
standard. And you know, it's a great tool. It's a visual tool, and as we're, you know, wherever how we go on our meetings, we're still going to need that visual idea of where planning is and maps and transportation, all of it. So there's more to come on that. It won't be where it pays off, you know, it covers Andrew's salary for sure, but it does recoup some of the ideas that we're trying to recoup some of the costs associated and still be good neighbors and good regional partners.
And my second question was, you were talking about how, you know, with if there is, obviously there will be extra money at the end of the year in the budget to purchase items. I think it would be beneficial, at least for me, if these were kind of prioritized, you know,
Yes, they will be. Mhm.
Okay. That was.
Yeah.
that was-
No, that's a good, you know, that's okay. We really hadn't really talked about it, Doug, but that's exactly right. Because I think if all the wish lists, as you'll see, I mean, and if let me go back here for a second. Sorry, I'm just trying to, so many different things. It doesn't go where I want it to. So let me go into at least like the pavement software. And there's a memo that Ray, and there's some changes that I know that Charlie wants to talk about, but software that helps determine, build outs and sidewalks and all these things, right? And right now it is on our server. It's a software, but now everything's moving to the cloud. And, you know, if you look at, oh, you can't see this, stand by. Here's my view. Let me get my view here for a second. You know, this pavement software, I mean, look at this iWork where it's 70,000 for all the pavement work. I mean, it's 70,000, my goodness gracious, right? But, you know, and then there's like another RoadSoft, and this has some other costs associated with it. You know, and VHB is who we've had, correct, Charlie, right? And that's like comes out of $20,000. And then there's this other one that has, so we're accumulating this from staff, and while they're all kind of working on existing projects, the idea is for us to try to find ways to be almost like with the discussion that it was for OPED, try to be not too risky, but not too under risky, but yet do what it's going to take and how does it fit into a budget. So ideally we'll look to do the same thing, what we're going to do with GIS, do the same thing with pavement software. And then, yeah, it's not letting me. I don't know how to do this. Sorry, it's not letting me weigh how I want to do this. And then the other piece that I have is, you know, the IT, you know, and that in itself has been you know, the Office 365. Howard Wright's going to go into more details tomorrow. But there are things such as, even protecting our computers and our, cyberware, which has been so incredibly prevalent, and everybody has those kind of issues going on here. So here's a capital budget that we'll go into. This is something that's much more involved and engaged for the council meeting as well, just to kind of give an overview. But here we go. So these are some of the cost estimates that Howard's put together for me. Come on. Sorry, guys. So as we're, looking even just like how we need to come up with a plan, instead of continuing having desktops, we need to go to laptops and laptops because of the whole remote, right? So, because otherwise you can't take the desktop off your computer and keep moving that back and forth. So there, again, there's, okay, I see what what Howard did was he put the pavement software into this capital budget. But, we have the Office 365 that is certainly there and backing that up, and the paving software and IT services. So he did this on a quarterly basis, but the cost is, capital expenditures with all of that included. I mean, it does get costly what we're trying to do on some of the cost as it relates to laptops, to have the different grants pay for them, whether it's the economic development or have the Mass DOT pay for them. So it's a lot coming at us, and I know it's a lot coming at all of you. But the idea is that we do put together a strategy and priorities. From my perspective, that's where I rely on someone like Charlie and others to really kind of cut them up, as well as Andrew, who's working in the field, to really kind of put this together. So we are able, like looking at the Huntress, the fact that, the cost is on a quarterly basis here, but each one of our computers and users have the software to protect from the cyber. And we, in the beginning, when we did the migration, we were getting hit all over the place. Thankfully, it was working. Charlie, I don't know. I know I'm kind of like rambling on a little bit, but these are three major, right? Because some of the stuff we've been able to take, and the building is out of the ROM, right? So it's not coming off of the OCPC operating budget, and so we're trying to piece this together. So it is, maybe we don't get everything done in this fiscal year. We put it off for next fiscal year, or a portion of it. Maybe it's something that we have to look in 3 years and put our finger in the dike and just hope that the existing software on the pavement doesn't go on us. I mean, we just have to kind of think that through, and that's why we do rely on a lot of like Howard and people like Andrew and Charlie. Charlie?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it really well. And, one of the things, software technology companies, they're evolving to, subscription licenses versus back in the day, you could buy a disc or a CD and you just install it and that was your cost. Now it's an annual cost, such as Andrew was talking about on the so-called quote unquote maintenance. So they get you two ways. One is the software purchase, and then for the annual maintenance as well, for the luxury of having the updates and having the software operable. Adobe Acrobat is going the same way. It's going to subscription base only. Microsoft is looking to go that way as well entirely. So, it's an industry standard in terms of technology and licensing. But with regard to the paving software, we have an operable system right now. It's on the server, but our intent is to go to a cloud-based system at some point, whether it's in the current fiscal year, next fiscal year, or beyond. We're just keeping our fingers crossed that the server keeps working. We're kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit on this. But to Doug's question about money-making opportunities with the GIS, this is one of the things that in the past with the pavement management system, we did do a study for the town of Plimpton a couple of years ago. It provided a network assessment of pavement conditions and recommended repairs and how much it would cost to implement those pavement repairs. And we did a similar study for the town of Avon, which was, we went into contract with the town of Avon to pay for that. So that was a different type of contract. So that was something that helped to add to our bottom line in terms of revenue stream. So, keeping up to date with the software on pavement. And right now it's like, we'll go out and do field inspections, but we're handwriting down the field survey data. Then we have to go back to the office, enter it into the computer. The idea would be to actually, on a cloud-based system, you'd have tablets in the field and you could just tap on the tablet and it would upload to the cloud and automatically be in your database. So, it would add efficiency to the workflow and, presumably do twice as much work in the same amount of time with just using technology.
So there's a lot, and this is Howard, as you remember from last year about this time, he did an assessment and recommendation. So he's going to present this tomorrow with kind of going through some of the things that he's highlighting in terms of the cost associated. So I won't bore you with that tonight, but he does have a decent presentation. I'll share this with all of you, so you'll have that. And then Andrew, I'll just share the with the committee your strategic plan and CC you on it, so in case anybody has any questions on it.
Good.
So Sandy, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No. I will have to recuse myself from, Howard and that.
So this, if you'll see my screen, this is a story of my life. This is my SharePoints with all the committees and all the things that staff are working on, and they each have all documents in it. And
Oh,
it
goodness.
just made, it's pretty amazing. It just is amazing about the work that they're doing, and it's collaborating. And we all can kind of be working on a document, make edits, saying, okay, now it's your turn, and they make some more edits. So it's pretty awesome. That's all I have,
Awesome.
Mr. Chair.
And it's just 7 o'clock right now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I think that's it on the agenda. I think, oops, that's for tomorrow. You don't want that.
Mm-mm.
Right? You can
Not
count down
tonight.
24 hours from now, right?
I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons here. Let me just make sure that there are, I don't know if anybody has items for the for
Suggest
next finance,
future
but I think
topics.
I think future topics, Mr. Chair, we talked a capital budget, the priorities from us as a staff recommendation. I think your other is the OPEB and the vetting and the process of. I think for tomorrow they're going to present, and I think the action item would be to have that whole discussion come back to finance to be vetted to finance and make recommendations to the full council. That would be my suggestion.
Right.
I don't know if there's any, oh, and just the last is the Rockland Trust loan. We've had an appraiser come in. There's a whole questionnaire, so that should be coming to fruition soon.
Great.
And Charlie, you could easily say it, but Charlie texted me to say, and the FY 2020 OCPC, that should be on the agenda to begin the discussion for that. I think that's, so we may need to put a little extra time for the next finance meeting.
Right.
Or,
Alright.
or Mr. Chair, you can break it up into two and bring that up and then have the finance, the budget be on a separate item. But it almost doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah. I'd rather just truck through it and, get it over with.
So those will be the 3 items.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. I have a motion to end the finance meeting for April 27th, 2021 at 7:02.
I'll second your motion.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Thank you very
everybody.
much, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Doug. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye-bye.